I don't know how they did it, but they won. They won a game against a division opponent. Oh my gosh. That's the ugliest win I've seen from this team in years, and that is saying something, considering the team that I follow is the Chicago Bears. What an ugly win. But a win is a win, and after some of the losses that this team has taken over the last 2 years, I will take this ugly win over anything. Bears win 12-10 over the Minnesota Vikings in one of the ugliest games the NFL has had to offer this season. Yeah, I don't know. This game was just really tough. Really, really tough. The only saving grace about this thing was that it was one score the entire way through. One score the entire way through. And that's, in these low scoring games, I like when that is the case. I like when that's the case, especially if I'm going to be a casual viewer, because then it's going to be at least like somewhat entertaining. I mean, if the game gets out of hand by the third, fourth quarter, at least I'll still be like watching the end of the game, right? So just there are plenty of things that I need to talk about with this game, and oh my gosh, another just really ugly win on prime time. Weirdly enough, the Bears improved to 3-0 this season when playing on days not during the weekend. When playing on Thursday or Monday, the Bears have not lost this season. When playing on Sunday, they've won just one game. Just flex the team into Thursday night next week or Monday night. Just start flexing them in there, because at this point, that's the only way they're going to win football games. This was just a offensively frustrating game, and really most of it's play calling, but man, Justin, you cannot fumble the ball twice in the fourth quarter like that. You cannot do it. Fields, again, a pretty clean game, but he turned the ball over twice this week instead of once last week. I mean, you just got to have ball security, man. I know you've been doing this running thing for a while now with this team. Ball security has to be top priority at this point now. You have got to start to learn how to pass, and you also, it's great that you have the legs because you can use them to elevate your game. When you do, you have got to have ball control. I mean, the first fumble, Danielle Hunter he wraps his arm around him, and of course he's holding the ball like this. He doesn't have tucked in. He's holding it out there, and so when Hunter's hand kind of slips away from Fields, the ball comes right out because his arm hits the ball right out of his hands. He's got to just tuck that in. He cannot hold the ball out like this. And then the second fumble, I didn't get it like a great angle, but regardless, whatever happened, it cannot happen because he gets hit hard, and maybe it's just a good play from Metellus, the defender who forced both fumbles, by the way. Metellus, leading with the shoulder, and I think he may have just struck ball. That could have been it, but again, it just cannot happen, man. It cannot happen. You are very lucky that the defense came up huge so many times in this game, but there's a lot that you and Getsy are at fault of tonight. You guys did not win this game, pretty much. And it frustrates me to say that because Justin Fields finally comes through in the final drive of the game and leads them down the field to kick the game-winning field goal. Just finally they're able to get it done. But, I mean, that fourth quarter was brutal. And pretty much before the fourth quarter, my issues were more the play calling. And I know that a lot of people have been saying this. I've been looking at Twitter throughout the night. I mean, everyone knows how stupid Luke Getsy was tonight with the amount of screen passes he threw. I think I did see he ran over 20 screen pass plays. Why? That does not happen. That should not happen. Does not need to happen. I don't understand it. I know the Vikings are, like, they blitz a lot. They're the highest blitzing team in the league. I know that. But seriously, why are we running all the screen passes? They worked in the first quarter. That first drive was great. Fields had 8 or 10 passes, and he completed them all. They were all pretty easy, though. They weren't super far passes, which I'll get to in just a minute overall. And then, of course, Santos misses the field goal, so they hold the ball for over 8 minutes on the opening drive and come up with 0 points. They hold the ball for over 13 minutes in the first quarter and don't even score in the first quarter. They score early in the second. So it's they have the ball for literally 95% of the first quarter and don't get any points. It's just absolutely brutal. I mean, and it forced the Vikings to go 3-0 on their first drive. I mean, everything was going right. I mean, that first half flew by in a flash. That actually took, I think, a little less than an hour, or a little more than an hour in real time. That is unbelievable to play a half of football. I don't think I've ever seen a football game, one half of football, go by that fast. But I mean, I guess it makes sense when you have a bunch of screenplays that are just inbound tackles, and you only have 6 points on the board for both sides, or 3 points on each side, 6 points total between the teams going into the break. It's just, dude. This game was infuriating. Third quarter comes around, they do, and the defense had a great game. They had a great game. I'll get to them in a minute. Second half was just pulling teeth trying to find any sort of points. I mean, dude, penalties were an absolute killer for this team. They killed so many drives. Well, they didn't kill as many offensive drives, but defensive penalties were a massive issue. Although they tightened it up when it mattered the most, which is huge. But for the majority of the game, penalties were a massive issue. I want to stick with the offense for a minute. DJ Moore, unbelievable game. Did what he could with what he had. The Yak really carried him there. 114 yards on 11 carries, or 11 catches, not carries. Fields had over 200 yards on the day, and he threw the ball over 30 times. He threw the ball a ton. That is one thing I will say that was an improvement and was something, especially from the last time they played the Vikings. This was a huge step up, throwing the football. Fields almost threw the ball 40 times. I don't know if I've ever seen Fields throw the ball 40 times in a single game. And he had almost 30 completions, but it only went for a little over 200 yards because of all the screen passes and the little short passes. Fields, I don't know by the end of the game, I don't think he averaged over 3 yards down the field on an individual throw. His average throw downfield in the third quarter was under a yard. Going into the break, it was under a yard. Because they couldn't stop throwing screen pass. It was screen pass left or screen pass right or a throw 1 yard in front of the line of scrimmage. It was ridiculous how the first half game plan offensively, outside of that first drive, was throw a screen pass to DJ Moore and just pray to God that he makes a play. And that's not how you win football games. And it's so annoying. That was just such a frustrating game to watch. I cannot tell you how infuriating that game was to watch offensively. And frankly, most of it is not even Fields' fault because of all the screen passes. There were plenty of plays where they had to, he had to scramble drill and, throw it away. He still needs to work on just getting the ball out. I feel, and he missed a couple throws. I'll give him, when he threw the ball downfield early in that game, he did miss a couple throws. But, man, just Getsy does not trust him. I am still convinced that Getsy does not trust Justin Fields throwing the football. So despite all of that, they come through on the final drive. Like, that second half, that third quarter was fine, but the fourth quarter was just absolutely brutal. And it really felt like we were watching what they did against Detroit again. They have a 2-possession lead within their grasp. All they need to do is not turn the ball over. And Justin Fields coughs up the football. This turnover ended up being the touchdown, the lone touchdown of the game from Dobbs to Hockenson. That was it. And I cannot even begin to tell you how infuriating it was watching this offense after the ball was taken away from the Vikings offense. Vikings had 2 turnovers. They had 2 takeaways. Their defense took the ball away twice, and they scored 7 points off of those takeaways. Scored the touchdown off the takeaway. And it really felt like once the touchdown was scored, they were going to lose the game. Because I had seen this exact story play out several times over the last 2 years since Eberflus took over, where they lead the game for the majority of the game. They lead. They maybe they don't score the first points, but they're leading for the majority of the game. And in the final half of the fourth quarter, they just blow the lead, and then they have to go down and take the lead back, and then Fields is panicked and then just coughs the ball up in one way or another, and they lose the game. The fortunate thing for Chicago was that the touchdown was scored with about 6 minutes to go in the game. So when Fields coughed it up a second time, their defense could bail them out. And they did. They had a great 3-and-out stop after the turnover. Forcing the punt, Fields is able to collect it and recover from the 2 bad fumbles, the previous 2 offensive drives, and lead them down the field for a field goal to win the game. If Fields has to have 2 drives after the Bears cough up a lead like that to go down and tie, win the game, whatever, that's not a recipe for success. Justin Fields needs to learn how to just turn it on and just get in the zone and just lead a drive in that moment and not cough up the ball, not panic, not force a bad throw, not do anything. And he worked really well on that final drive. And frankly, they probably would have gone down and taken the lead if he doesn't cough the football up a couple minutes earlier in the game. So, I don't know, but dude, this was just and it really felt like it was going to be a repeat of Detroit. Not as a colossal of a collapse, but it really felt like they were going to blow it again like they did in Detroit last week, where the defense produces 4 takeaways. And instead of it being 3 interceptions and a fumble, they force 4 interceptions. 1 clean one from Jalen Johnson. He almost had another pick 6 in this game, which, I'm sorry, man. I heard on the broadcast you said that you were the best corner in the league. That's a load of bull crap. Because guess what? You have had 2 pick 6s that you have dropped, let go right through your hands. Most corners in the league make those plays and take it to the house. Most corners that want to get paid like that will make that play. If you want to get paid, you have to make those plays. I know you got an interception tonight, and you have 3 this year. You have got to make those other two interceptions. That's touchdowns. Those are touchdowns off the board, and that all in likelihood wins you the game against Detroit. So the fact that you guys won this game bails you out a little bit. You need to make those plays, dude. You're not going to get paid. You're not going to get that big extension that you think you deserve if you're not going to make those plays. You have got to hold on to the ball. You have the read right. You did everything right except catch the freaking football. So, I mean, you had that nice read that led to the first interception of the game. That was a really nice play. You know, make Dobbs thinks that you're covering the guy in front of him and then peel back to try and then just steal it away from that throw to Jordan Addison. Great play. That was the only clean pick The other 3 interceptions were all off of deflections. The first one was off a deflection off of Jordan Addison's hands that he just dropped and was picked off by Jaquan Brisker. Just his second career interception. The only other one in that win on the road in New England last season, the epic one-hander. So glad that he finally gets another interception there. Third interception on a 4th down. Granted, we didn't really need that interception. Doesn't really matter in the long run, but it's a takeaway nonetheless. TJ Edwards gets the interception off the deflection on 4th down. Good work. And the 4th interception, Justin Jones reads the pass from Josh Dobbs, and he bobbles it. But luckily for him, Kyler Gordon's over there to dive in and make the play and pick it off. And I mean, I'm pretty sure, I thought about this in the moment too. I'm pretty sure Justin Jones would have wanted that interception, but you're going to take the pick regardless. You're going to take the pick. So they get 4 interceptions. How many points did the Bears score off these interceptions? You know, any competent football team will probably score a couple touchdowns. You know, maybe they get unlucky, they score a couple field goals even. They scored 3 points off of 4 takeaways in tonight. Last week against Detroit, they scored 10 points off 4 takeaways, and they didn't the first 2. This week, they get 4 takeaways, and they score just 3 points. Now, whether you want to blame that on Justin or if you want to blame that on Getsy and the play calling and the screen passes, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that. I'm not the technical guy who reviews the film and whatnot, right? I just give my reactions as a fan and I look about it in the perspective that I see it. But 3 points off of takeaways, and you have 4 of them in the game. The defense has come up with 7 interceptions in the last 2 games. And you have scored 13 points off of those 7 interceptions. Pathetic. And frankly, it might even be 10 because the 3 points, or one of the scores that they got against Detroit was definitely off the fumble. I think it was a field goal. So it's like you have only 10 points, or maybe even 6 points off of 7 interceptions. That's not the defense's fault. That is all on the offense. And whether that's Getsy or Fields or whoever else, embarrassing. Cannot happen if you want to win football games in this league. Cannot happen. They win the turnover battle big time for the 2nd straight week, and they're only able to squeak away with a win against Minnesota. Just absolutely brutal. Defense had a fantastic game again against Minnesota. They did a great job in this one. Great job. Aside from the defensive penalties that kept Minnesota drives going. Those were so frustrating, especially in the first half. Got to learn how to clean it up. I think the Vikings had maybe 1 penalty in the entire game. The Bears were getting pretty much every single penalty. They cleaned it up at the end of the game, which was huge. But man, you have to stop taking the penalties. All of this to come to the conclusion that it was an ugly win. Very much so. And mainly because of how the offense played. Offense the game plan was very bad. Fields was sacked 3 times. And he did a lot of escapism tonight. But, I mean, on those types of plays, he's got to be better. Where the pocket collapses and finds some throws. I think the big thing for Justin, it was huge that he got that completion at the end of the game. That was probably one of the clutchest throws I've ever seen him make for the Bears. Wide open DJ Moore streaking across the middle. Can't miss that throw, and he doesn't. And he pulls off like a big 35, 36-yarder at the end of the game, which, that was the longest play of the game for either team. See what happens, Luke, when you let Justin Fields throw the ball down the field? See what happens when you design passing plays down the field and not just two-yard little screen passes or, screen passes 2, 3, 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage? It's amazing what happens. Maybe you should try it sometime, just like the other 31 teams in the league. Oh my gosh. And so, I notice the Bears are just, they find ways to lose games. Fields found a way to win this one. Fields found a way to win this game. Somehow, some way, he did. And the defense comes up huge, and they don't waste this effort. And I think that is so important for the team. And, man, just a really ugly win. The thing I want to see from Fields the next couple weeks, they'll have the bye week. This is huge. They get the win. They get 2 weeks to prepare for Detroit at home. You know what happened last week. Go in there and have a similar game plan, because they're looking pretty cold right now. They did not play well on Thanksgiving against Green Bay. Take advantage of the opportunity. Find a way to win. And one thing I want to see from Justin specifically is for him, especially late in the game, to have a great throw in tight coverage. Because when he's forced to throw in a lot of these game-winning drive attempts, he has thrown an interception because he's trying to force it into a tight window and makes a bad throw. I want to see them practice 2-minute drills with tight coverage and tough throws. Because DJ Moore is not going to be streaking across the middle of the field wide freaking open every game. He's not going to be like that. You're lucky that happened and you made the clutch throw, but you cannot just pray that happens every game. It's not going to. So learn how to make those tough throws in the clutch, because those are the throws you're going to need to make when you get into the game. And I think that'll help just throughout the game, period. Because he makes great throws when the receiver's open, but in tightly contested throws, he has not been great, especially deeper throws like that. Got to be better with those. So, and frankly, if you're if I'm Luke Getsy here, scheme play calls to be aggressive. Scheme to try and actually see what Justin Fields has. Because if he plays like he did on that final drive, he could be the quarterback next year. If he plays like he did the 2 previous drives, fumbling the ball away, I'm done with him. I mean, if he didn't make that comeback drive, I would be ripping into him right now. Really ripping into him. Because, again, late in the game, he coughs the football up. He just cannot do it. And he's lucky the defense was able to give him another opportunity. Just cannot fumble the ball away. His turnovers late in the game have been absolutely brutal this season. Needs to clean it up, and he needs to learn how to throw into tighter windows. And Luke Getsy needs to scheme better so that Justin Fields can actually throw the ball, more than 10 yards down the field. At this point, more than 3 yards down the field. I don't even think he averaged 3 yards down the field on his throws tonight. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Time for the Bears to rest on the bye, heal up, because there were a lot of injuries here. Gordon, Brisker, Terrell Smith all went down at separate points in the games. Thank goodness they never left the game fully. They got to get healthy. Tevin Jenkins, though, I think did not come back into the game, if I'm correct. I don't know. I don't remember hearing anything on the broadcast, so I don't know if he did, but he can get healthy this week, heal up, and get ready for Detroit in 2 weeks. Anyways, that's it for me. If you enjoyed it, please give a like on this video and hit that subscribe button for more reactions from me, and I will see you all in the next reaction. Have a good night, folks.